Hey, 'tis the season to give the perfect gift. C60 Evo organic oil elixirs and facial serum sets. And here with another sleep tip is our good pal, Chris Burrows, co-founder and chief scientist at C60 Evo. Hey, Chris, welcome back.
Richard, thank you so much for having me. My next tip regarding getting better sleep is related to electronic devices. So we all have these, this cell phone lying around, or we're using it on a regular basis. What a lot of people don't realize is that those devices give off blue light. That blue light is actually tells our bodies, the only time naturally that we see blue light is at the peak of the sun. So when the sun is up at its peak at noon. And so what those devices do, including your computer terminals, your cell phones, your tablets, is they convince our physiology that it's the middle of the day. You can imagine that if you're watching your cell phone or tablet at 10 p.m. and you've somehow convinced your physiology that it's the middle of the day, this is not good for sleep. So it's really important. Most devices have actually blue light blockers, and you can just go out and Google and how to blue light block on my Samsung device or Apple device, or even on your PC or your Mac. Make sure you turn that on. I know people who leave it on all day so that they're never impacted by that blue light. I would recommend 2 hours before the sun is setting in your local area to turn that on. Obviously, it doesn't work if you're working on videos or you're working on pictures, but try and turn that on 2 hours early. And the other thing regarding electronic devices, try to keep them out of the bedroom. I recommend that you actually put a charging station outside of your bedroom so that you just don't even bring it in your bedroom. These devices, as we've kind of been reading and hearing, are like geared to trigger our endorphin responses, and so we like to be on them. They keep them up. So keep it out of the bedroom and make sure you got your blue light blocker on about 2 hours before the sun sets. And I always like sharing sleep tips, because our most consistent testimonial for our product is that people take it in the morning, they report mental focus and energy during the day, and then better sleep that night.
C60 Evo products deliver noticeable benefits to people and pets around the world. Immunity boost, deeper sleep, just like Chris said, more energy, mental balance, flexibility, and longevity. Please visit the website c60evo.com/Richard-Serrett. And don't forget, use the coupon code EVRS at checkout, EVRS at checkout, and then you save an extra 10%. That can't wait. All right, Chris, we'll talk again next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Richard Serrett's Strange Planet, following the truth wherever it leads, exposing evil and corruption and the secret machinations of powerful elites, revealing the high strangeness beneath the surface of our supposed reality, coming to you from the Great White North and his studio beneath the stairs. Here's Richard.
From Zoomer Radio, AM 740.
And welcome to the Audio Imaginary. Come on in, traveler. Not sure why I'm hearing an echo. Let's try that again. Welcome to the Audio Imaginarium. Come on in, weary traveler, hang your cloak on a peg, grab a stool, and come gather around the fire. There are stories to be told, and you are among friends. Carlos Kajina is our technical producer, and Ryan White is our live stream producer. Be sure to check out my YouTube channel, Strange Planet, and also my Rumble channel, Richard Serrett's Strange Planet. Coming up in the second hour, Kieran Woodhouse is a paranormal investigator in England, and he's just produced a documentary titled A Haunting in Essex. And I just finished watching the film this afternoon. Pretty compelling stuff, I must say. So this family in southeastern England, Essex, their lives have been turned upside down by paranormal activity in their cramped house. And what makes this documentary so different is they actually caught the owners and Kieran Woodhouse caught quite a bit of paranormal activity, or let's say unexplained activity, on camera. You can see it for yourselves. These are not recreations, but some sort of unexplained phenomena, like coins being thrown down the stairs, doors slamming, strange voices, clothes. This is the weirdest part. Clothes manifesting in front of a camera and floating down from the ceiling and landing on the staircase. And you see all of this in the documentary. A Haunting in Essex. And Kieran Woodhouse will be here. I think this is his first time on the radio show, but I had him on the podcast a couple of years ago. This hour, an internationally known medical intuitive, healer, and author discusses interdimensional entities called Archons, which attach themselves to humans. They feed off of us. They manipulate us by feeding us negative thoughts. Dr. Reverend Christopher Macklin is the founder of the Global Enlightenment Project. He specializes in healing abductees and others who have suffered related negative ET trauma. He assists people in removing negative ET presences from their lives, clearing homes and land, and closing multidimensional portals. It sounds like this family in Essex could use his help. He also works tirelessly with illuminati fallout children who've been mind-controlled and physically tortured by ET-influenced government agencies and institutions. In addition, he works very closely with the Pleadians and Arcturians to help heal and rebalance humanity. He has a new book and protocol out that addresses the negative ET presence and how it has affected humanity. Today, Christopher is an internationally known energy healer who specializes in healing people from all forms of illness. Again, especially those created through ET technology, such as Morgellons, Lyme, etc. He is the author of History, Truth, and Healing, HIV/AIDS, Agent Orange, Gulf War Syndrome, Morgellons, and Lyme. Christopher, welcome to the program. How are you?
Yeah, Richard, thanks for having me on. It's wonderful to be here, bless your heart.
Are you far from Essex by any chance? I'm detecting an English accent, or are you in the United States now?
No, I'm in the United States. I live in Missouri, but I was born in Chester, which is 20 miles from Liverpool and 30 miles from Manchester. So, yeah, I came here about in 2010. I never left. I love the place.
Are you in the Ozarks?
Exactly, yeah, the Ozarks. I love it. It's amazing. Beautiful, beautiful surroundings, lots of trees and back into nature.
Right. So you are described as a Melchizedek being. Now, I know Melchizedek from the Old Testament. He was kind of a priest king from Jerusalem. I think Abraham paid tithes to Melchizedek. So obviously he was a very revered a person. But what is a Melchizedek being?
Well, there's various beings, of course, malevolent and benevolent, and there's lots working together to, make things happen. And there's the negative ones trying to shut us all down. The Melchizedek beings come from the ultimate dimension. They were involved with, on the creation of this third dimensional world, they were kind of involved with things like putting Akashic records in place and some creation of different plants and things like this. So they had a participation that, of course, Prime Creator creates the whole thing, which is, source or whatever you want to call the universe, God of all it is, or, I define God as God, Goddess, Prime Creator of all that is. But the Melchizedek beings also were trained to kind of police the time, space, and police things here. So they keep coming back here. One of the problems with this world is that it's a third dimensional world, and of course you've got free will. So even the Prime Creator, Melchizedek beings, Arcturians, Pleadians, they can't get involved without having some of their people incarnate down here, so they can get over the third dimensional aspect of free will. And by asking, okay, ethers, we need you down here, guys. We need something to happen. So they're calling their starseed family to come in and help. And that's what's happened. That's why you've got a lot of starseeds born. They call them different names, but they're all starseeds.
So as a Melchizedek being, you volunteered to come down to Earth. I mean, do you remember prior to your incarnation here on Earth?
Oh yeah, I remember when they say, okay, who's coming down this time? And I've come down. The thing is about starseeds, Richard, is that, for the last 4,000 years, they've had to come down a lot of times because things are changing so rapidly on this planet. Obviously in this third dimensional world, that if you didn't keep up with the changes, you would not, what would you call it, train yourself to have the strength for right now, because this is it, this is what we've been training for. So we've incarnated for the last 4,000 years a lot of times, and most starseeds have, to train and get used to being here, because it's getting darker. But of course, we're also got this ascension program going on, so it's important to understand it. And I think that's why we've incarnated a lot of times. I mean, I don't know what I was thinking volunteering, but I did. But I do love it. I mean, I always tell people, look, if you get in God's queue and God says, I want volunteers. No, don't go gunning. Pretend you've got a bad stomach. Go to the toilet. Pretend you've got diarrhea and stay in there all day and then you come out. Maybe next time. But I do love it here. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it's nuts, but I do love it down here.
So let me see if I sort of have a handle on what is happening here when we're talking about negative entities and so forth, because we're going to talk about Archons. And we know about Archons, let's say, for example, from the Gnostic tradition, there's the Demiurge, and the Archons are kind of, guarding this prison planet. So we're sort of trapped here, and every once in a while, someone kind of gets behind enemy lines, an avatar arises to sort of try and wake us up. Which is kind of really what the Matrix films are all about, right? Those are very Gnostic films.
They are. Absolutely.
Yeah. So as a Melchizedek being, are you like one of these, similar to one of these avatars who have, it's almost like special forces paratrooping or parachuting in behind enemy lines, undetected by the Archons to try and save this prison planet. Is that the idea?
That's the idea, and there's a lot of people. There's not just me, and there's 5 Melchizedek beings here, but there's a lot of Arcturians, Pleadians, Arcturians, Lumerians. They're all doing different jobs, and we've had to have them here. And our job is we're going to do a huge project, which is going to really help the planet. I can talk about that later, but it's a huge project which we're working on now to acquire the land to actually get some off-planet pyramids down here. And that's kind of, to me, is essential to the planet's transition, because if you don't, there's so much symbology and things built on the ley lines to try and shut them down. So the energy field around the planet has been really skewed, for want of a better word. And in addition to that, of course, the Archons, what they've done, these guys have been around for thousands, ever since the Babylonian times. Then, the plan, I don't know if you've ever seen the Archon Covenant. No. That kind of goes into their plan. So the Archon Covenant describes, let's manipulate them, let's make them sick, let's use metals and skew the brain so they can't think properly, and they can't because they're seers, they can see. So you have to somehow dumb people down. And then you've got fear, you've got anger, and you've got frustration, through media, through religion separation, through obviously political separation. And you've got other separation going on now, So they're crazy. They've manipulated people's minds so much that, it creates a lot of anger. And anger and fear really shut people down.
So where do these Archons come from? You said they've been around since Babylonian times, but
before that,
where do they come from? Yeah,
they're kind of the duality. They were created. They were kind of born out of the Milky Way type thing, and they were created as the duality of the archangels. So they're kind of the negative guys, the archangels. And they actually work so the Archons actually work closely with the Luciferians, which is connected to the Vatican. And the Vatican, of course, is the Roman Empire still. People don't even realize that. And they worship Lucifer there. And then you've also got the draconian.
I want to be careful here because we don't want to malign our Catholic friends. We're talking about it.
No.
Within every organization, there is certain infiltration by darker forces, let's say, darker entities. So you're saying that within the Catholic Church, there may be some infiltration from these Luciferian type groups. We're not maligning Catholics or.
No.
Right. I just want to be clear.
Everywhere, in every religion, every political organization, there's always darkness of some type, because it's infiltration, and it's kind of sad. So anyway, so the Luciferians are working with these Archons. The problem with Luciferians, if you look at Jesus' teachings, I love Jesus' teachings, he talked about demonic entities. Well, he was really talking about the Luciferians and the Draconians, because what happens is when you drop your vibration in your body, these things can attach to you. Now, people get, in quotes, possessed, where they're contorting their body and they've got a really raspy voice, very hissy, raspy voice. That is a Luciferian attachment. And but the problem is because they're pretty dark beings, what they do is instead of attaching to human beings, they team up with the Archons to do very subtle things. And Archons have actually no body. They're actually energetic, and they can get in between people because, your wife and yourself, for example, you've got an energy link, and they can get within that energy link and start creating discord with their negative energy, and then obviously the family falls apart. That's what they use them for, because if the Luciferians or the Draconians attach to you, then you've got a possession or attachments because they're too dark. So they use the Archons to kind of do it in a more subtle way. The Archon Covenant talks about, make them sick, then we'll give them some pills and make them more sick, and, we'll poison the food or poison the skies. It's interesting. Have a look at, it's good to look up the Archon Covenant, maybe on DuckDuckGo or on Google. I'm not quite sure it's on Google, but certainly DuckDuckGo, you can see and read it. It's quite in depth. It's very interesting.
So the Archons, they have no physical body. They are energy beings. But as a Melchizedek being, as a medical intuitive and so forth, are you able to see them or sense their presence?
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, Richard, when I was 4, I could see them. And I remember there's also the Anunnaki, which aren't so dark. There's good Anunnaki and, a lot of manipulative Anunnaki, but they're not as dark. They do attach to people, but they're more subtle, a lot more subtle even than the Archons. And what happened is when I was 4, I saw one of these things in the corner of the room, and they're normally about 9 to 10 feet tall. Some people call them Nephilim or whatever. But anyway, they sit in the corner of the room, and I felt this like really dark feeling in my chest. Wow, and I said, Dad, there's a reptilian thing in my room. He comes going up. Where? He just couldn't see it. And of course, it's there, and I realized very quickly that I had a gift that people don't have. Some people can see through the veil, some people can't. So it is a gift because it's good, because when you come and work on people and want to help them, the first thing you need to do is see whether they've got any attachments. And I would say 99% of people who get sick do have attachments of some sort, whether it's Anunnaki, Draconian, or Luciferian, or Archonic energy.
And are the when the Archons saw, when you saw the Archons, do they then realize that they can be seen by someone, and then are you then targeted as a result?
You are, yeah. But what you've got to do is, again, build an inner strength, because there's one thing about the human race: we're sovereign beings. And part of growing in this third dimensional world is understanding how these things function and keeping them away with, I call it maps of intent or prayers, whatever you want to call it. And, I remember at 4, I just come out and I said, get out of my bedroom. It was gone. I thought, wow, that worked. So if you've got an inner strength and you really, command that things happen, they really do happen. But we're taught in this world to be powerless, and, we're taught to be enslaved by money and, religion, all this sort of thing. And I think, but we are sovereign beings. We've got a direct connection with the prime creator, source, all it is, whatever you want to call it, Jesus, Buddha, So it's important to establish that connection. And that takes a bit of work because you've got to raise your vibration to a point where you're leaping out of bed and going, wow, I feel amazing, and you feel as though you could really help the world. But it takes some time to get there because it's a tough planet to be on.
How many Archons are there? Are there? Is it limitless, the number of them, or is there a certain number?
I've never really checked, but there's hundreds and hundreds of thousands. There's actually more Anunnaki here, which actually live under the planet as well. I don't really know that, but the reptilian Anunnaki, they actually live under the planet in massive caverns, and there's actually more of them than us on the planet. And, one of the covenants, they've all kind of got together because they want to try and take over the planet and get the human beings off. But it's not going to happen. So, as long as we keep on the trajectory we are and stay positive, the power of the mind is absolutely incredible. And it's important for people not to buy into false narratives and really just focus on, the outcome, which is unconditional love, in my opinion. It's the highest vibration there is.
Dr. Reverend Christopher Macklin is with us, founder of the Global Enlightenment Project, and he is the author of History, Truth, and Healing, HIV/AIDS, Agent Orange, Gulf War Syndrome, Morgellons, and Lyme. You mentioned the Reptilians. I had John. Do you know John Rhodes? I had John Rhodes on the program a couple of weeks ago, and he has a website, reptoids.com. He's a kind of a cryptid hunter, and he likewise believes that there are huge numbers of reptilians living in underground caverns and tunnels and so forth. So, but the reptoids are extraterrestrials. They take physical form. The Archons are energetic beings, but so they're working together, you're saying?
Yeah, the energetic beings are working together with the reptoids. The thing is about Anunnaki reptilian creatures is they can shapeshift, so can draconians, and so can Luciferians. So they can switch in this dimension and be physical, and then they can switch out of it. And that's why there's a lot of reptilian people amongst us. They can take human form. You also, of course, have reptilian hybrid people, which are basically produced to get in high-level positions because a lot of these people don't have any compassion or sympathy. They're just numb. They just want to. It's all about the money and the power. They don't have any compassion or anything for humanity at all. So we've got quite a job to do to shift this planet. And that takes all of us.
All right, we'll take a quick time out and come back and continue to discuss Archons and other negative ET entities. Dr. Reverend Christopher Macklin, again, founder of the Global Enlightenment Project, back with more of our conversation right after these.
I don't need to tell you how important building and sustaining a healthy immune system is these days. And just in time, my good friends at Get the Tea are offering a special package called the Immune Builder. You get 1 month's supply of Life Change Super Tea. That's 8 bags. 1 bottle of Bioastin. That's 75 capsules. Now, Bioastin, or astaxanthin, is known as one of nature's most powerful antioxidants and provides a wide range of impressive health benefits. The Immune Builder also includes 1 bottle of Potent C Wild Alaskan Sockeye Omegas. That's 90 gel caps. And 1 copy of the book Natural Astaxanthin, Hawaii's Super Nutrient by Dr. William Sears. There's so much more than tea at getthetea.com. Get your Immune Builder right now. Not available in any store. Use the code UNLIMITED and all your purchases ship for free. The Immune Builder from getthetea.com.
Day 1, go on an adventure. Day 2.
Welcome back to Richard Syrett's Strange Planet. This is Richard Syrett's Strange Planet. Follow Richard on Twitter at Richard Syrett. For show information, visit the website strangeplanet.ca.
Rediscover the world of Ontario.
And we are back with Dr. Reverend Christopher Macklin, founder of the Global Enlightenment Project and the author of History, Truth, and Healing. And before we get back into our discussion about Archons and negative ET entities, we want to mention your online group healing sessions that happen 3 times a week. Christopher, tell us more.
Yeah, what we've done is, this is a charity. It's a 501c3. I called it Christopher Macklin Ministries originally, but the Global Enlightenment Project is a project of this ministry. It's a non-for-profit. And because of that, we always make sure everyone gets healing. We work on thousands of people a week, but these things, there's Monday, 9 a.m. Central Time, Thursday, 5 p.m. Central Time, and Saturday, 11 a.m. Central Time. And we do it every week. It's by donation. You can just come online. If you have no money, I always encourage you, please come on, because never shame yourself. I've been there. I've had no money at times, and I know what it's like. So that's why we do that, so people can get a healing and help them release these attachments like, draconians and Anunnaki things from them, so they can actually free their life up and start moving forward. And that's really important to me. And we do a lot of other healing as well, of course. We work on cancers and different things. So if you want to join them, please, just come on and, we're trying to help as many people as possible.
And the website again, globalenlightenmentproject.com, globalenlightenmentproject.com, all one word. That's the best.
Absolutely.
Now, is it possible to, I guess, self-diagnose? How do you know if you have an attachment versus just a regular sort of biological illness, or is there a difference?
Well, with an attachment, what happens is this, let's take, for example, draconian Anunnaki. If you have one of those attached to you, they sit in the abdomen, so the abdomen kind of gets bloaty. You get a lot of gas, or you can't digest your food properly because it paralyzes the intestines from the end of the rib cage down because it's low vibrational. So, of course, when you eat, as it gets further down, you feel blah. Every time you eat, you get a lot of gas and everything's bloaty. It also taps in the lower back between L4 and L5 disc. So it taps in there where the disc is, and so it damages the L4 or 5 disc between the vertebrae. It also sends you negative thoughts. Now, I know a lot of people, when we first do a session with them, say, well, I get all these thoughts, like, you're useless. And whatever you do in the day, you go to your work, oh, that was pathetic. You go home and do dinner, that was useless. You just get all these thoughts all the time. Now, Anunnaki, the thoughts aren't so dark. With draconians, they start to get suicidal. So you can always tell how dark the being is. And, as soon as you remove these beings, that completely stops. It's absolutely amazing. But the other thing they do as well is hang on the shoulders or neck. And of course, they're a spirit here, but it still affects the muscles. So the muscles are tight on your neck or shoulders all the time. And, you could just tell, like, your vibrations really low. It also affects the liver. It drops the vibrational liver, so it doesn't process the toxins. So you get brain fog, you get a heavy head. And also it paralyzes the adrenals. So serotonin's low, so your hormones are off balance, so you just feel exhausted all the time. And that's the thing with kind of depression. That's really to be where it comes from. As soon as you remove these things and the negative thoughts have gone, you can start living your life again. But of course, one of the things about healing is really important. If you remove that being now, if you don't protect yourself from them coming back, they can come back within 2 or 3 hours. They can reattach. So that's why on the website we have, in quotes, maps of intent or prayers to keep these things out by putting sacred geometry around you. And in that way, you can raise your vibration without these things reattaching and dropping it. So it's a key instrument. So, if people want any help, please just come on these healings. We'd love to see you.
What do they want from us? What are they ultimately trying to accomplish? The Archons, the Reptoids?
They want to take over the planet. If you look at, the narratives, everyone's heard of the Illuminati, Deep State, Cabal, whatever you want us to call it. It's a group of people who just want to control the planet. They want to control the money. They want a one world order, and they don't want people, stepping up, and they don't want you to own anything. They want to take over the planet. But the biggest thing really is the reptilians below the planet want to come up, and that's why these ideas of blocking out the sun. And people say, well, you need to block out the sun because there's global warming. No, it's nothing to do with that. It's to actually reduce the oxygen, because the reptilians under the planet can't breathe that level of oxygen, so they can't come up unless we reduce the oxygen. And that's what some of the, cabal people are trying to do. And so, we're here to kind of try and stop that, but of course, there's a lot of things going on by, control the media. You can control people and mind control them. So, it's very interesting. It's very interesting to watch.
Well, I've seen, let's say, artistic renderings or depictions of these reptilians that live beneath us. I mean, these are powerful looking creatures. I would think that they could come up onto the surface if they wanted and make pretty quick work of us. I mean, they look like they could just tear us limb from limb. Why do they have to do this in kind of a in subterfuge, shapeshift and attack our abdomens and so forth? Why don't they just declare all out war and invade the surface and destroy us, devour us?
Well, it's done subtly, and I think it's done with the intent of human beings, because what they're doing is manipulating people's mind, because the narratives that play out, even right now, aren't exactly what's playing out, but people believe everything. It's, they want to get people sick, believe in things, and then they become subservient, because, we need help, we need pills to help us through this, and therefore, they become subservient to reptilians. They can't just go in and take over, because there's benevolent off-planet beings who won't allow that to happen. There's certain rules of the universe, so they have to be very careful about how they do it, with things like karma and that. So very interesting. I mean, we have a huge project, and we're actually building off-planet pyramids. Well, one's going to be over 1,000 feet tall, 666 feet tall, and 333 feet tall. It's all sacred number in numerology. And what's happened is, if you line these in a golden curve, I mean, they're huge things. They're not just small, they're huge things. They're going to be transferred here. But we have to, of course, buy the land. And the whole point about these things, you say, well, why do you want to bring those things down here? If they're on the golden curve, the last biggest one will be on top of the ley line of the planet, one of the major ley line intersections, which will allow to flood energy. And by flooded energy, because these beings are low vibrational, they can't exist in a high vibrational state. So that's really, one of my main projects to do. And of course, buying that sort of land, hundreds of thousand acres, and having to build an infrastructure, because if people think, wow, these things have just appeared from nowhere, they're going to want to see them. So it's a huge project. It's not just me involved, but a lot of top banking people and different things. So that is moving forward slowly. When the time's right, it'll happen. But that'll really help the planet as well.
So these pyramids, they have to be constructed off planet and then brought back down to Earth. Why?
Because they've got to be completely accurate. Within point something of a degree, 0.00001 of a degree. The second thing is that the materials they're using are not of this planet. And it's also ancient. It's ancient technology, so they are more stargates. I mean, the ones in Giza were built by the Pleadians. They weren't built here. They were switched down from a different planet as well, from the fifth dimension, from Pleiades. So they've all been built elsewhere. And even now, people think, well, we don't have the technology to build this as accurate as it's been built, and they're quite correct. So that's why we're doing it. They'll just suddenly appear, one will appear, next one, and then the final one. And then that'll be something, it's a God thing, It's really going to help.
So these three enormous pyramids, which will be placed on ley lines, will provide almost like a protective grid around the Earth to prevent the Archons and the Draconians from taking over? Is that the idea?
Well, to get over karma, it's going to raise the vibration exponentially of the planet over about 3 or 4 years. It's going to raise really quickly, which means that low vibrational beings can't live in a high vibrational state. That's why I always talk to people about attachments. If your vibration is precarious and it's not right up there, if the level of your vibration is right up here, and the low vibrational beings are lower, they can't get near your energy field, and that's what protects you. But meanwhile, while you're doing that and raising your vibration by releasing emotion and getting the energy and flowing in your body with the meridians, you need to say maps of intent prayers. And it's the same with these pyramids. Once they're down here, because they're Stargate type pyramids, and they have a lot of advanced technology, but it's ancient technology. It's off-planet technology. They'll really help. All they're there for really is to raise the vibration of this planet so that these reptilians can't stay here. They either have to leave or they won't be able to exist in a high vibrational field.
And is there a timeline? When are these pyramids set to arrive on Earth?
It's critical timing. It's going to be within the next 2 years.
The next 2 years. All right. We are rolling into another break here, Christopher. Just hold on. We'll come back. We'll open up the phone lines, and we'll also take questions and comments from the live chat. Dr. Reverend Christopher Macklin from the Global Enlightenment Project, globalenlightenmentproject.com. Back with more of our conversation right after these.
Hey there, I'm hard at work on another edition of Inner Sanctum, my free monthly newsletter. Inner Sanctum features my monthly brief, a column of my thoughts and opinions on what's happening in the world. It features a spotlight on a past guest, a look ahead to an upcoming episode of my weekly syndicated radio program, The Conspiracy Show. It features a look at this month in conspiracy and UFO history, and my Conspiracy Unlimited podcast episode pick of the month, and so much more. To get your free monthly newsletter, Inner Sanctum, delivered to your email inbox, just go to my website, strangeplanet.ca, strangeplanet.ca. Scroll down to the bottom of the page and click on Inner Sanctum and register. It's fast, easy, and again, absolutely free.
Download the NordVPN app. Press Quick Connect 1111. You and Zoomer Radio.
As you're staring up at the night sky, ever wonder who's staring back? You're listening to Richard Syrett's Strange Planet.
Two-bedroom, two-bath townhomes from the upper...
Great conversation. This is The Conspiracy Show with Richard Syrett on Zoomer Radio. To speak with Richard live, call 416-360-0740 or toll free at 1-866-740-4740.
Welcome back. Just a reminder, coming up in the second hour, Kieran Woodhouse, paranormal investigator, will be here. He has a new documentary out called A Haunting in Essex. And this family in southeastern England, in this cramped little house, well, for the last 2.5, maybe 3 years, their life has just been turned upside down. And what's remarkable about this documentary is, I'll play a few clips as well. They capture this activity right on camera. The family, when this was happening, they installed little, I guess, like security cameras all over their house. And you will see in the documentary clothing seemingly manifesting and floating down from the ceiling. And you'll see coins being thrown at walls and so forth. It's quite compelling. Kieran Woodhouse coming up in the second hour. He'll join us live on the line from merry old England. And a merry old Englishman transplanted to the Ozarks of Missouri stays with us. Dr. Reverend Christopher Macklin from the Global Enlightenment Project, and we're talking about Archons and negative ET energies. And so this is all in about two years, give or take. These gigantic pyramids being constructed off planet will suddenly appear on the planet. Do we know? Are you able to divulge? You mentioned that they'll be placed on particular ley lines. Can you tell us approximately where they will be located?
All I can say is the word America, because of course, the negative deep state and ETs will not want them here. So if we said where they're here, they'd buy up all the land and try and stop it from happening. But we do know where they're going to go. But yeah, it's going to really happen.
And then what happens after the? You say the reptilians or the draconians, because they're low vibrational entities, they can't survive on this planet. Will they'll just perish, or they'll leave, or they'll stay underground? What will happen?
They'll have to. They'll either perish or leave, because they can't live in this high vibrational world. Their body will shut down because they're in a low vibrational state. But we think they'll leave and go elsewhere and do other things. They have the technology, of course. There's plenty of craft. Even the reptilians or the draconian have got craft, so they can leave. Yeah. And
what about the Archons? What will happen to them?
They will be able to come near the planet because, again, low vibration. Even though they're a being and an energetic being, lower vibrational energy can't get through a high vibrational energy field. It's like putting your hand through a brick wall. You just can't do it. So they won't be able to get near the planet once the planet's raised its vibration. So it'll be a very good kind of instrument to get us back to that high vibrational place, and it's really going to help humanity to raise their vibration and get back to a sovereign being. Get rid of this powerless. It's sad to see people depressed, powerless. They don't know what to do. And I understand it. But it takes a bit of work to get back to your sovereign self. As beings, humanity, we ingest way too much emotion, hundreds of thousands of layers around the heart. And that's why people have a lot of heart conditions as well, because there's so much stuck energy around there, and I think once we start releasing that, and these pyramids will help by raising your vibration. So it's going to be a really good thing.
All right, let's go to the live chat. Thinker asks, how are you able to, or what method do you use to remove these spiritual demonic attachments, Chris?
What I do when I work with people, I used to do in-person sessions, I don't anymore. And what I do is I use portals. So what we do is put 8 portals around somebody, 27 esoteric Merkaba fields around them, bond the portals into the Merkaba fields because they've got 8 points. And then it means the Melchizedek beings can get through the ultimate dimension, come down here and escort them out your body. And that's how we got rid of them. And what they do is they send them. The thing is about, if you go to a church, say in the name of Jesus, right, leave. The problem with that is that you've just upset the entity because it's been commanded to leave, so it'll float around the church and it'll find somebody else to attach you. You've got to safely move them on and send them back to God with unconditional love and forgiveness. That means, it's up to the God realm to deal with them, whatever they see fit. We're not judging them. And that's a very important point, I think.
And are you enlisting the help of other entities?
Yeah.
Okay. And who or what in particular?
I work with the Melchizedek beings. There's a lot of them in the ultimate dimension, but because they're in a portal, they can come through the ultimate dimension as energetic beings, and they can actually do work on your body. You can actually feel it. It's kind of like psychic surgery. You can feel things happen in your kidneys, liver, whatever they need to do. It's pretty amazing. They're amazing beings, bless them.
Not Gordian in our live chat is asking, how do you communicate with these various beings? How often do you meet them in person?
I talk to them every day. I talk to them. They sometimes appear, but most of the time you're just communicating through telepathy. I'm very good at telepathy. I can read people's minds, and I can also remote view people as well. So that means, if you lie on your bed, you can have a look at your body and say, okay, let's have a look at the liver. Yeah, that looks okay, or it looks a bit sick. Maybe it's a bit grey. It's low vibrational. You see tumours. You can see, how's the lower back? Oh, a lot of people have L4, L5 disc issues. They bulge because these entities tap in, and once they tap in, even though they're energetic, it seems to destroy the L4, L5 disc. So, if you think about it, you're so strong, as a human being, your spine's one of the strongest instruments in your body, and everyone's got lower back issues. And of course, there's another reason for that as well, is because of the emotion we actually ingest. The muscles tighten in the lower back and start pulling your hips out. And, everyone's going to the chiropractor, we put them back in, they go out, go back in. It's important to do some work on releasing the emotion and getting the muscles, chilled out in the lower back so that it doesn't keep pulling the back out. So there's lots of cause and effects for different things.
All right. This was a short segment, Christopher. We're going to take one final time out, come back. We'll take some more questions from our live chat as we continue to discuss Archons and negative ET or interdimensional entities with Dr. Reverend Christopher Macklin right here. Stay with us.
Question everything. This is the Conspiracy Show with Richard.
A doctor develops a life-saving medicine for an epidemic.
This is Richard Syrett's Strange Planet. Follow Richard on Twitter at Richard Syrett. For show information, visit the website strangeplanet.ca. Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has turned on the fasten seatbelt sign. We're now crossing a zone of turbulence. Please return your seats and food trays to their upright position and make sure your carry-on luggage is safely stowed. You're about to leave everything you know behind. This is Richard Syrett's Strange Planet. Strange Planet.
Dr. Reverend Christopher Macklin from the Global Enlightenment Project. Just a quick shout out to some of our Star Chamber patrons. And that would be Deep Paul, Tim Sullivan, and Jacob Ribichuk. I hope I pronounced your last name correctly, Jacob. Forgive me if I haven't. Jacob Ribichuk, Tim Sullivan, Deep Paul. These are our Star Chamber tier level donors at patreon.com. And if you'd like to become an official member or official donor, go to patreon.com/Strange Planet. Patreon.com/Strange Planet. And to Deep Paul, Tim Sullivan, and Jacob Ribichuk, thank you so much. Your generosity means a great deal. You have no idea. And it really helps us do what we do here at Strange Planet. Thank you so much. Deep Paul, Tim Sullivan, Jacob Ribichuk, again, patreon.com/Strange Planet. All right, we are talking about off-planet and interdimensional entities, negative entities, Archons, reptoids or reptilians, draconians. And let's go back to the live chat. Sigma 6 asks, Chris, any thoughts on the work of John Lamb Lashes and his research of the Nag Hammadi?
I haven't heard of him actually, so sorry, I haven't got any comment on that, bless you.
All right, but the Nag Hammadi, I guess these were the books sort of referred to often as the Apocrypha, the books of the Bible that weren't included in the Bible. Some are considered heretical, others, I don't know, they might be useful resources, but I'm not sure if John Lamb Lashes has done some work with the Nag Hammadi library. I think that's what Sigma 6 is referring to.
Yeah.
And I think that, sorry, go ahead.
With the truth about Magdalene and Jesus, and so yeah, I mean, I know a lot of it, but I haven't looked at his work. I'll have to look at that. I'll make a note of that, see if I can look at it.
Okay, John Lamb Lashes, I have here. All right. So when it comes to this oppression on the part of the Archons or the Reptilians, you would acknowledge that there is, aside from that, there is actual mental illness and physical illness that is not caused by that, or would you say it's all caused by oppression?
I would say, I mean, it can become chemical balance. If you ingest a lot of emotion, for example, if your neurochemical balance goes off balance, then you can get anxiety. All these things are diagnosed down here as mental illness: anxiety, ADHD, ADD, OCD, and PTSD. And I'm sure most people have got some form of anxiety right now because, what's happening on the planet, and maybe a little PTSD as well. But I think, take, for example, if you look at people who have got schizophrenia, I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them are very gifted people. They can see and talk to beings. The problem is that they're talking to the wrong ones. They're talking to the negative ones that are sending them off balance, because the reptilians will not, they tend to give you two or three truths and one huge lie and send you off on a circle with angelic beings like the Pleadians, Arcturians, Lemurians, Atlanteans. they will all tell you the truth, and they're God beings because they want you to, raise your vibration and really get to your sovereign being self and find your God-given gift. Everyone's got a God-given gift. So I think, they send, the negative ones do send you off balance. But once, I've worked a lot with schizophrenics, and I work with psychiatrists, psychologists, and psychotherapists, and, we get them back to talking to the angelic beings, and then they feel amazing. But if people don't understand in your family what you're doing, for example, have I got schizophrenia? Well, the answer is no, but I can talk to beings. So, you've got to think, well, okay, what does that mean? It means you've got a gift. So you've got to disseminate, I suppose, between, people who really are, depressed and sick and people who've got a gift but are being manipulated by these Archons, Reptilians, Reptoids. It's important.
So I want to be careful with this next question because I don't want to absolve this group I'm going to talk about from any responsibility. But let's talk about serial killers, for example. Are serial killers, dare I say, victims of some sort of oppression from Archons or Reptilians or some sort of demonic entity?
I think some of them can come from, becoming a sociopath where, because your father beat you and things like this, you just start playing that out with other people. But it's interesting, when I heard about Ted Bundy, which, killed 36 women, I wanted to understand it. So I looked at, there was like a series on it where they looked at how it worked and what happened. And I watched it just to understand what was happening. And one very interesting point, which I could talk to you about, is that the journalist who went to see him before death row, before he died, sat with him. And he said it was amazing because if he asked, how did you do it? His eyes went black and he got all, very aggressive. If he said, well, how would somebody do it and spoke in a third party, he would just explain the whole thing. Like, oh, this is it, that's that. But, you could tell that in that case, no human being could do what he did to women. So there's got to be something that's influencing, and it could be a total possession. His whole soul is pushed out of the way, and these things do actually completely possess people. And I think that's what happened with him, because if your eyes go black, it's a very good signal. If you see somebody and the eyes go black, they've got an attachment, or they look like reptilian eyes. They start flickering like reptilians. So that's a very good measure to see whether someone's got an attachment or not, or whether they're, in quotes, possessed.
And who is susceptible to being oppressed or possessed by an Archon or one of these negative entities?
Well, in my opinion, a lot of people do have attachments, but the people who really get attacked by them, to me, Richard, is the people who really want to get back to they want to wake up, they want to get to a high vibrational state, they want to get back to their sovereign being where they can manifest things. But as they're doing that, these things are trying to knock you down. They don't want you to get out of an, quote, sheep-like state. They want you really to get up there and really make a difference. They don't want you to get up there. They want you to just be numbed down. So they attack and attack. I see it all the time. We work with thousands of people, helping them to get to that, what I call the sovereign place or the God space, where once your vibration's there, they can't touch you. So they oh, you're too much hassle. Let's go bother somebody else. And it's amazing to watch. People don't realize how much people get attacked by these things. So it's the people who are trying to make turn into their spiritual sovereign being. That's the ones that are going to get attacked. If people just going to work, earn a paycheck, coming home, depressed, can't pay the mortgage, go and buy some food, watch TV. If they've got an average life, then they're not a threat to these beings. The people who are a threat are the people who step outside and say, hang on, there's something going on with this world, and start to investigate and start to, really get their vibration up.
When you look at Vladimir Putin, when you look at him in his eyes, when he's on television, do you see someone who has been oppressed by an Archon or a negative entity? I
don't actually. No, I don't. I do look at leaders and things, and he doesn't. He doesn't have an attachment.
Interesting. So what do you think is that?
Is that?
Sorry?
You'll probably be surprised at that. But you've got to look at the whole narrative of what's going on, and do some research on it, because, like you say, things are never the way they seem. Always.
No, that's true. We have to be careful of the same media that lied to us about so many things, including so many aspects of COVID. Now all of a sudden we're supposed to take their version as gospel when they're reporting on this war. It's not necessarily black hats and white hats. It's a series of gray hats. Tell us again, Christopher, about the thrice weekly healing sessions you're doing online.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to come, go to globalenlightenmentproject.com. It's on the front page. You can sign up. So it's the generic healing. It's Monday, 9 a.m. Central Time tomorrow morning. In fact, Thursday, 5 p.m. Central Time, and Saturday, 11 a.m. Central Time. We work on the eyes, we work on the teeth, spine, we work on the liver, kidneys, we work on a lot of things. Do we cover everything? Probably not, but we do cover most things, and it's about an hour. You'll really feel it. And we actually remove entities at the start. So any attachments, we'll remove those at the start.
And again, the book, History, Truth, and Healing. Just tell us a little bit about that and where we can get it.
Yeah, you can either come to the website. We have them in stock. History, Truth, and Healing of Manufactured Diseases. And it's you can go to Amazon, or you can get it from the website, globalenlightenmentproject.com. If you go onto the ministry market, you'll see it all there. We have a lot of meditations to help you raise your vibration. There's a lot of instruments to help.
Well, Christopher, it's been a real pleasure, really enlightening, no pun intended. Thank you so much for this.
Oh, bless you. Thanks for having me on, Richard. And it's absolutely been wonderful. And thank you for your team as well. Bless them.
Dr. Reverend Christopher Macklin, again, founder of the Global Enlightenment Project. globalenlightenmentproject.com is the website. And we're approaching the top of the hour. Kieran Woodhouse, we hope, will be on the line live from England. We'll talk about the documentary, A Haunting in Essex. And I'll play a few clips for you. Just a quick heads up. Coming up a little bit later, well, in April the 3rd, Ryan Peterson will be here. He's got a new book out called The Final Nephilim. April the 10th, Don Schmidt and Tom Carey, Roswell investigators, Don Schmidt, Tom Carey, as we commemorate the 75th anniversary of Roswell. And their book, Witness to Roswell, the 75th anniversary, will be out. And then William Peters, on April the 17th, William Peters will be here to talk about shared death experiences. All right, hour 2 awaits. Stay with us.
Richard Syrett's Strange Planet, following the truth wherever it leads, exposing evil and corruption and the secret machinations of powerful elites, revealing the high strangeness beneath the surface of our supposed reality, coming to you from the Great White North and his studio beneath the stairs. Here's Richard.
On Zoomer Radio.
Thanks for inviting me into your home, your long-haul truck, RV, camper, taxi. Your parents' well-appointed basement with the simulated wood paneling, electric fireplace, and the painting of dogs playing poker. Your loft, that greasy spoon just off the interstate, and your cabin in the woods. Carlos Kajina is our technical producer. Ryan White is our live stream producer. And again, check out my YouTube channel, Strange Planet, and my Rumble channel, Richard Serrett's Strange Planet. Have a listen to this. Let's play that first clip, if you could.
Anyone there? Anyone there? Anyone there? Anyone there? I can hear ya. Where are you? Right? Where? Where?
There you go. That's that gentleman's name is Lee. You heard his voice. He is the father, I guess, and owner of this small house in Essex, England. And in the documentary, A Haunting in Essex, he's upstairs. We see him on camera. He's doing some remodeling up there. And I'm not sure if you could hear the voices of children in that clip. Those voices are not supposed to be there. He hears them. He calls out to them. And you can sense that, you can hear the panic in his voice. And then all of a sudden, as he's moving down the hall, the bathroom door slams in his face. And of course, he makes a hasty exit down the stairs. And he caught it, I believe it was on his cell phone camera. And this has been going on in their house for over, 2 years when the documentary was made. So maybe 3 years, maybe longer. And this family at their wits' end. There was so much anxiety and stress in the house as a result of this activity, it practically tore the family apart. And then they called Kieran Woodhouse. And we're hoping to catch or to connect with Kieran over in England, where it's, I believe, 5 o'clock in the morning. Maybe he fell asleep. And we'll get him on his from his home in England, and he'll tell us about this documentary, A Haunting in Essex. Kieran's an England-based paranormal investigator, public speaker, co-host of the Paranormal Paradigm podcast, also the author of An Introduction to Paranormal Investigation, which is a book designed to help those looking to start out in the field of investigations. He's had a lifelong interest in just about everything paranormal, which has led him, Kieran, down the path of research, where he now frequently presents his evidence, thoughts, and theories to audiences across the UK. And again, the name of the documentary, which is available on YouTube, is A Haunting in Essex. But for whatever reason, we are not able to reach Kieran Woodhouse. So I guess we're just going to have to open up the phone lines, and all of you who join me faithfully each and every week in the live chat, I guess we'll do, until we get Kieran Woodhouse in here, we'll do a Ask Richard Anything. Ask Richard Anything. So YY Sigma 6, Quinn the Q, Sierra 1, Raz Fitz, Not Gordian, Ford is King. Who else do we have in the live chat tonight? We've got Chuck 1776, Magavelli, Fishy Fun 57, Heathcliff, You Betcha, Keenan Key, Diane K, Joseph Patrick, Toxic Canadian. Did I leave anyone out? Thinker, Amanda. I think I've got everyone. All right, come one, come all. If you've got a question, we'll do Ask Richard Anything. My producer back in the studio, Carlos, asking me if I have a phone number. And I do not. I don't have a phone number for Kieran Woodhouse. We connected on email and Skype, and I emailed him earlier today. And in fact, he reached out on Skype just to let me know that he was ready to go. That was this afternoon. So we hope everything's all right with Kieran Woodhouse. While we're waiting for some of the questions to come in. We'll do Ask Richard Anything this hour, at least until Kieran joins us. Let's play another clip from this. This is, again, the documentary A Haunting in Essex. We're going to hear now, this is clip number 2, Carlos. This is the mother or the wife describing what's been happening. Let's have a listen.
Do you feel that it's now here to stay?
Yeah, it's still here. I mean, it got to the point where it got really bad. We had nothing for a good few months, and then it's like everything's gone back to the beginning. It's starting slowly again. We're getting voices, we're getting things thrown at us, we're getting things moving. Yeah, so it's like we've gone back to square one. It's like it's on a cycle. I don't believe we're going to get rid of it. I don't think anything can get rid of it. And like you said, I think now we've just got to learn to live with it, which I'm more comfortable with now, because obviously I've seen and heard a lot of things that people would never believe.
All right. So let's dive into the live chat. Let's see here. Ryan, if you want to curate any of these, my live stream producer, Ryan White. If not, I'll just grab them right here from the live chat itself. Quinn the Q. Oh, I missed you. I didn't mention you, Quinn. Quinn the Q asks, how is the ice rink holding up? Well, we, if you didn't know, because of COVID and things up here in Canada pretty well shut down for most of the winter. My boys weren't able to participate in any organized sports, so they so desperately wanted to play organized hockey this year. They could not for obvious reasons, so we decided to bring the hockey to them, and we built a hockey rink in the backyard. It's, let's see, it's about 50 feet long, 25 feet wide. I ordered it online from a company in the US. All of the boards, everything just clicks together like Lego pieces. Then you put in a liner, almost like a pool liner. You call in the big water truck. They fill it with water, and you wait for cold weather. And then a friend of the family, Bill, he's an engineer. He came over. He put up outdoor lights. This thing would light up. It turned day or night into day, so the boys could play all night and their friends. Anyway, we had great fun this winter on the ice rink. We had plenty of cold weather, and now, of course, it's turned into a giant swimming pool. Basically, it is a giant swimming pool, and we are going to have to drain it in the next couple of weeks before it gets too warm, because you know what happens to standing water, right? Mosquito season. It would just be a gigantic mosquito incubator. So we got to get that drained. You don't leave standing water around come warm weather. So next year, though, I'm already scheming and planning for next year. We have a hedge towards the end of the backyard, and beyond the hedge is our vegetable garden. I'm going to take that hedge out, and next year I'm going to push the rink into the vegetable garden. I'm going to order another 20 feet of boards. So we're going to go 50 feet long. It's going to be bigger and better next year. Let's see, who else do we have? Kay Sterling. Many have spoken about ET invasion prophecies for 2022. Have you heard anything about this? Well, I'm always hearing about some sort of ET invasion prophecy or an end of the world prophecy, but I can't think of anything specific for 2022. You betcha. True Ghost, the city of Toronto hosting the Stanley Cup. Not this year. Hosting or hoisting? Neither is going to happen this year. They have no salary cap and too many holes to fill. Although they just went out and they traded for Giordano, a veteran defenseman, played most of his career with Calgary, now with Seattle. He's 38 years old. That's not enough to get it done. They have serious goaltending problems, and they could probably use another top six forward. They just have no grit. No toughness. They are not, as they say, built for the playoffs. So not going to happen, unfortunately. Let's see. Have I ever had, Raz Fitz, have I ever had an experience with a ghost or ghostly activity? Yes. Where to begin? I think I've told this show or this story a number of times over the years. Let me see where to begin. The first time, let's just call this unexplained phenomenon because I really don't know what it was. My father passed away New Year's Eve, 1986. And a few days later, he was buried. It was the evening of the day that he was laid to rest. And I was home from college on Christmas break. And I was sleeping in the my old basement bedroom back home in Brantford. And I was, I woke up. I don't know what time it was. I looked over on my dresser expecting to see my clock radio. And then I realized my clock radio was back in the dorm at college. It wasn't there, which tells me I wasn't dreaming. If I was dreaming, the clock radio probably would have been sitting on the dresser because there's always something a little off about dreams, right? It's not reality. But this was, to me, this told me this is reality, what I was experiencing. The clock radio wasn't there. I realized I was in a bit of a haze. And the room was pitch black. And suddenly I felt a presence in the room. I rolled over to face the doorway, and there was some specter coming through the doorway. And the only other person in the house was my mother, who stands about 4'11" and a half in stocking feet. And so I called out to her, thinking it was my mother. Who else would be coming through the door of my bedroom? No response. And so I rubbed my eyes, just like they do on TV, right? You rub your eyes, and what am I seeing here? And the specter was gone. So I put my head back down on my pillow, and then I closed my eyes, and then I opened them again, and there was the specter hovering directly above me, parallel with my body. In other words, its head was staring down at my head, and it was hovering above me the length of my body, above me. And I looked into its face. It was me, my doppelganger. And then I did something else they always do on TV. I waved my arms through this specter to see if it was solid. And it just scattered. And then it all came together as if it was, and then it was like sucked into the corner of the room in the ceiling. So it scattered and then just came together like like a little tiny light, ball of light, and then was sucked into the corner of the room, and it was gone. And I never told anybody about that for years because I had no idea what had happened. Why did I see my own likeness? A doppelganger. Was that my father taking on a form so as not to frighten me? I don't know. I don't know what happened. I don't know what that was. Was that stress after losing a parent, of course? Hard to say. Let's see, what else can I tell you? Well, the telephone call that I received from Gary Patterson, my late radio partner. Those of you who are coast-to-coast listeners would remember Gary Patterson. He was a frequent guest there, the rock and roll historian. He wrote books about rock and roll and the paranormal and strange coincidences and unexplained deaths and so forth. So Gary Patterson and I were working on a radio project. We were going to create this radio program. It later became the Rock and Roll Twilight Zone, the podcast, but it was initially going to be a radio show. except Gary passed away. He passed away May 26th, 2017. And so we had been working on this show. He was down in Knoxville. I'm up here in the Toronto area. So we talked via Skype, or we talked on the phone probably 2 or 3 times a week for probably a year and a half leading up to his death. So the Friday night before he died, he called me on my cell phone. Friday night. That would have been the 25th of May, 2017. And we talked about the project, and he mentioned that we were supposed to have this meeting with the management at a Knoxville radio station. They were going to take this show that we were putting together. We were so excited. We were going to build, a whole network. We wanted to syndicate the show. So this was going to be the first station to take the show. And we were supposed to speak with them on the following Monday. And Gary called to remind me, no, Monday is Memorial Day down in the United States. It's a holiday. So the meeting is off. And I don't remember whether I even asked him, well, is it rescheduled? When is this meeting taking place? All of that is all of those details are starting to evaporate because it's been 5 years. But he did say some things that were rather strange. One thing he said is, Richard, you're a really cool dad. And I thought, oh, okay, well, thank you, Gary. I'm not sure where that came from. And then he said something else. He said, Richard, you and I are a really big deal. And I thought, well, that's just Gary being Gary. He was always building us up, so that we had some confidence as we were embarking on this project. And then I said to him, well, Gary, Monday is Memorial Day, and I always think of Memorial Day, I think of, parades, veterans on parade, and I think of barbecues, family barbecues. He's down in Tennessee. They know how to barbecue. I said, Gary, are you having a big barbecue on Monday? And he, for the first time I'd known Gary, he got kind of curt with me. He said, there will be no barbecue. And I thought, wow, did I just step on a landmine or something? Or is there something going on with his family I don't know about? So I just kind of left it there. And I'm not sure how the phone call ended exactly. I don't remember. So that night, the Mighty Aphrodite and I would listen to Coast, usually, but I fell asleep. I missed it. I slept through Coast to Coast. Because had I been listening to Coast, I would have heard, I believe, I'm trying to think who the guest host was that night. He announced that Gary Patterson had passed away Friday night. I missed it. So I woke up and the guest host, Dave, oh dear, this is terrible. I'm forgetting his name. He was a frequent guest host on Coast. Dave, his name will come to me. He messaged me on Facebook and he said, Richard, I know you and Gary were close. I thought you'd like to know. Gary passed away last night. So I quickly called Gary on his cell phone. Ha, Gary, big joke. What's going on? Give me a call. Of course, he never called. It was true. Gary was dead. So, trying to remember how I found out. Gary had passed away, I think it was around 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock on the Friday. I thought, that's strange. I know it was past 5 or 6 when Gary called me, and how I know was it's spring. It doesn't get dark. It doesn't get dark until probably 6:30, maybe even 7 o'clock at that time of year. After 7, maybe. It was pitch black when Gary called me. I'm thinking it might have been 8:30, 9 o'clock. Just a guess, but it was dark. Gary passed away at 5 or 6. I'm sure he called me at 8 or 9. Anyway, when I found out that Gary died from the Facebook message, I ran upstairs to tell the Mighty Aphrodite. She was just getting up. And she said, without me prompting her, she said, You were talking to him last night. Yes, I was. Yes, I was. Then I looked on my phone, my cell phone. And you know, on your phone, you've got something called a recents. If you click on that, you can see who you called and who called you. This is the darndest thing. The Friday, I had no incoming calls. Nobody called me on Friday. Not even my mother. Nobody called me on the Friday. There's more to the story. We'll pick it up on the other side. Stay with us.
I don't need to tell you how important building and sustaining a healthy immune system is these days. And just in time, my good friends at Get the Tea are offering a special package called the Immune Builder. You get 1 month's supply of Life Change Super Tea. That's 8 bags. 1 bottle of Bioastin. That's 75 capsules. Now, Bioastin, or astaxanthin, is known as one of nature's most powerful antioxidants and provides a wide range of impressive health benefits. The Immune Builder also includes 1 bottle of Potent C Wild Alaskan Sockeye Omegas. That's 90 gel caps. And 1 copy of the book Natural Astaxanthin, Hawaii's Super Nutrient by Dr. William Sears. There's so much more than tea at getthetea.com. Get your Immune Builder right now. Not available in any store. Use the code UNLIMITED and all your purchases ship for free. The Immune Builder from getthetea.com.
As you're staring up at the night sky, ever wonder who's staring back? You're listening to Richard Syrett's Strange Planet.
The Conspiracy Show with Richard Syrett. Or toll free 1-866-740-4740.
All right, welcome back. And I'm sorry we couldn't connect with Kieran Woodhouse, paranormal investigator. He was to join us in the very early morning hours over in England to talk about his documentary, A Haunting in Essex. I played a couple of clips, but we'll get Kieran back on. In the meantime, ask me anything. And Fishy Fun 57 and Raz Fitz wanted me to talk about some of my paranormal experiences. And I mentioned seeing my doppelganger just after my father passed away. And right now, I've been discussing my late great friend and partner, our Gary Patterson, rock and roll historian. And I don't even feel comfortable just saying it out loud that I received a call from Gary after he died. I can't be 100% sure. Maybe somehow I'm misremembering things. But the strange thing is, he called me on the Friday. It was dark. My wife remembers me talking with him on the phone. I have this habit when I'm on the phone for an extended period of time. If someone calls me on the cell phone, I tend to wander around the house aimlessly with the phone to my ear. So I'll walk in the living room and I'll walk out the living room. No idea why I walk in there. And then I traipse through the kitchen. I remember actually being on the phone with Gary, walking through the kitchen, and the mighty Aphrodite was sitting at the kitchen table with my brother-in-law. They were in conversation. And my wife, the mighty Aphrodite, she remembered me walking through the kitchen with the phone to my ear. And then she heard my end of the conversation, put 2 and 2 together, and figured out it was Gary I was talking to. So the Saturday morning after I discovered that he had passed away on the Friday night, and I ran upstairs to tell her, and without me prompting her, she said, "You were talking with him last night." And then again, I checked this is the strangest aspect of the story. I checked the recents on my phone, and nobody called me on a Friday. I scrolled down a little bit. Gary and I talked on the Wednesday. We did. I remember I was picking my boys up from Greek school. I was sitting in a church parking lot on Bayview Avenue, and he called me. That's when he told me about the meeting with the management team at the radio station in Knoxville that was going to take place on the Monday. So then that's why he called me on the Friday to tell me Monday's a holiday. Sorry, the meeting is off. And the last thing I said to him is, are you going to have a barbecue on Monday? It's Memorial Day. That's what you do in the U.S. You have a barbecue. And that's when he got kind of curt with me. Or as curt as Gary could. I mean, he was a lovable, fun. He was always so positive. Anyway, that's when he got curt with me. And he said, there will be no barbecue. Just like that. There will be no barbecue. All right, so I still couldn't believe it. Even after I called the cell phone, no answer. And a few hours later, I looked up funeral homes. Gary was from a small town outside of Knoxville. Now I'm going to struggle to find the name. Olive something. Just a little village, little coal mining town, Civil War era coal mining town. Beautiful. So I found the one funeral home in town, and I called it. I said, do you have a Rudolph Gary Patterson? And they said yes. And that's when then I realized it was true. So I quickly booked a ticket down to Knoxville. I flew down there and stayed in Knoxville, took a cab, found the funeral home. And there was Gary, decked out in a beautiful metal blue casket. And he had his, I think it was a Fender guitar, his electric guitar, on a stand in front of the casket. And I waited in line to say my condolences. His brother, Michael, I think, was sort of greeting everyone. Went up and shook Michael's hand. And I said, Michael, I got to ask you something. I said, I didn't mention anything about Gary calling me possibly after he had died. I just didn't think that was the time or the place. But I did have a question for Michael. Obviously I extended my condolences. He was so happy to see me that, he knew that I had flown all the way from Toronto. He was aware of our friendship. I said, the last thing Gary said to me was, I asked him, I said, are you going to have a barbecue on Monday? And I said, your brother, for the first time since I've known him, got kind of cross with me. And he said, there will be no barbecue. I said, I don't mean to pry, but do you have any idea what that was all about? And he looked dumbfounded. He said, what did he say to you? I said, Gary told me there will be no barbecue. And he was kind of upset about it. And he said, well, that's the darndest thing. He said, because on the day he died, all afternoon, he was out driving around looking to buy a new barbecue. I can't remember how much he said. He said, I think he said something like he spent $500 on a brand new barbecue, and he spent the rest of the afternoon putting it together on his back porch. Gary was intending to have a barbecue. He went out and he bought a barbecue. He spent the last day of his life putting together the darn barbecue. Why would he tell me there will be no barbecue? Because he was dead. He wasn't going to be around on the Monday for the barbecue. Maybe that's why he was so upset with me. I don't know. Well, that's my story. That's the way I remember it. Did I get a call from our Gary Patterson after he died? I'm not 100% certain. I'm not 100% certain. But there's so many things that I can't explain. Like why his phone number didn't show up on my recents list. Why those strange things that he said to me. You're really cool. We're a really big deal. There'll be no barbecue. I don't know. Can't explain it. But that's what happened. That's the way I remember it anyway. What else? There was one other. And my wife and I were living in Unionville, not too far from where I'm now, Thornhill. We had a big house, and we had 2 new babies, the twins. So I don't remember how old they were. So we're probably talking 2007, 2008. And I would take my turn, doing the nightly feeding every 3 hours, right? You got to wake up, feed them. And if they were kind of fussy, they were itty bitty things. I could carry them both at once. I would walk up and down the hall, the long hall up in the 2nd floor, near the bedrooms. Walk and sing a little bit to them or whatever until they fell asleep. I practically wore a hole in the carpet, walking back and forth with the boys when they were babies. And at the far end of the hall, we had a guest bedroom. It was empty, but if one of my sisters came or my mother would come to visit, that's where they would be. But it was empty this particular night. And it was warm outside. I remember that much because I finally put the boys back in their cribs. And that one bedroom, when I walked by it, the door was closed, but there was cold air coming out from the bottom of the door. I thought, what the heck is that? Is the air conditioner on? Is there so much cold air in there because it's trapped because the door is closed? Now I remember. I had the boys in my arms. I was at the far end of the hall. I felt the cold air coming under the door. So then the boys were asleep in my arms. I quickly took them back, put them in their cribs. I went back to the far end of the hall, and I touched my hand to the door. It was cold. I thought, what the heck is going on? I opened the door, and I got kind of a blast of cold air. But the air conditioning wasn't on. It was just cold in that room. And I felt a presence, an energy. I don't know. I'm not an intuitive person, okay? Understand? I don't believe I have a psychic bone in my body. I'm not someone who sees dead people, none of that. But I felt a presence. And it's all true. The hairs in the back of your neck, the hairs in the back of your arm, or on your arms, they stood up. And I remember getting angry. I felt like there was something in that room, and it was negative, and I had my wife and 2 babies in the house. I wanted it out, and I started yelling into the room. I said, I don't know who you are or what you are, but I want you out. And all of a sudden, my fear turned to anger. And I must have stayed in that room for 10 minutes. I mean, I was fearless. I looked under the bed. I was looking in the closet. I know you're in here and you're not staying. And whatever it was, it left. The next day, room temperature back to normal. The air felt clear. That's it. Those are my 3 paranormal experiences, or unexplained experiences. All right. Ask Richard Anything. Back with more in a moment. Stay with us.
When in doubt, blame the government. You're listening to The Conspiracy Show.
Near and in between vision without glasses. Or even
Hey there, I'm hard at work on another edition of Inner Sanctum, my free monthly newsletter. Inner Sanctum features my monthly brief, a column of my thoughts and opinions on what's happening in the world. It features a spotlight on a past guest, a look ahead to an upcoming episode of my weekly syndicated radio program, The Conspiracy Show. It features a look at this month in conspiracy and UFO history, and my Conspiracy Unlimited podcast episode pick of the month, and so much more. To get your free monthly newsletter, Inner Sanctum, delivered to your email inbox, just go to my website, strangeplanet.ca, strangeplanet.ca. Scroll down to the bottom of the page and click on Inner Sanctum and register. It's fast, easy, and again, absolutely free.
You might be. Tresiba is the #1 prescribed long-acting insulin by endocrinologists.
The truth will set you free. But first, it will really tick you off. Welcome back to Richard Syrett's Strange Planet.
You're listening to The Conspiracy Show with Richard Syrett from Zoomer Radio.
All right. Well, this hour has turned into an Ask Richard Anything, and I just got an email from Kieran Woodhouse, and he writes, "My sincerest apologies. My alarm has just woken me up. As I understood, it was on from 5 a.m. my time, which is 12 a.m. our time here. Was this not the case? If I've misunderstood, then my sincerest apology." Then he writes back, "I can see the problem now. Our clocks go back this coming weekend. When we go back to the usual 5 hours ahead of Eastern time, so I'm an hour behind where I thought I was. This is entirely my fault. I'm used to being 5 hours ahead. Please accept my sincerest apologies." Not to worry, Kieran, if you're listening, we'll get you back on. That's the problem with time zones. And then to further complicate things, when spring arrives and you go forward, and for a brief spell, I think we're only 4 hours different with the UK, and then they go forward, and then you're back to 5. It's just a recipe for miscommunication, and that's what happened. But Kieran Woodhouse, paranormal investigator, we'll get him back on. All right. So ask Richard anything, and thank you for indulging my ghost stories. But you asked. And let's see. Fishy Fun 57. Richard, you and Gary were big. Think back to the Toronto show both of you did in the fall of 2016. That's true. And you know what's funny? I just realized that was in November, I think. Or no, it was October. It was around Halloween, maybe November of 2016. We brought Gary up to Toronto, and we did a big live stage show. And Gary was great, of course. That was the last time I saw him. That was about 7 months maybe before he died. And I used to we have a cash box, a metal cash box. You know, you keep, we'd sell tickets and things. And my wife had an event to go to today, so she pulled the cash box out. I don't know the last time we used it. And we opened it up. This is remarkable. I'm just thinking of this now. We opened it up, and at the bottom of the cash box were a couple of tickets from that show. They were orange tickets. They were from the show we did with Gary. Isn't that kind of weird? And then someone asked me about them today. Synchronicity. Synchronicity. You got to love it. All right. Let's see. What else do we have here in the live chat? Someone wants to ask me my thoughts on Pierre Poilievre. All right. So if you're listening in the United States, you're saying, well, who is Pierre Poilievre? Pierre Poilievre is a conservative member of parliament from the riding of Carleton, which is up near the nation's capital in Ottawa. And Pierre Poilievre is running for the leadership of the Conservative Party. He's not the leader yet, but many expect him to win. And so George is asking me, what are my thoughts on Pierre Poilievre? Well, I spoke with Pierre Poilievre a couple of weeks ago on my daily afternoon drive show on Saga 960. And I had a lot of questions I had for Pierre Poilievre, and he was actually in Thornhill. He was in town, and I'm in Thornhill, but I'm in my home studio. And he called me from a car, and it was a really crappy cell. So we actually ended up cutting the interview a little shorter than I wanted. And we're going to do it again at some point when he's on a proper landline. And I had a lot of questions I was going to ask him. I was going to ask him about the World Economic Forum. Although he has stated on other media platforms, he was asked the same question, and he disavows any involvement with the World Economic Forum. That's a big question up here in Canada these days because our Prime Minister is, and the leader of the NDP, the federal NDP, the New Democratic Party, Jagmeet Singh, and other members of the federal cabinet are a part of what's called the Young Global Leadership, I think it's called, or the global youth leadership. These are all politicians around the world that have been, I don't want to say groomed by Klaus Schwab, and I don't mean groomed in the way you may think I'm using the word. I mean, I don't know, mentored maybe is the better word. And Klaus Schwab, the creator, the founder of the World Economic Forum, has bragged about how he has infiltrated cabinets around the world with his devotees, disciples, students, apprentices, whatever you want to call them. And our Deputy Prime Minister, Chrystia Freeland, is on the board of directors for the World Economic Forum. And Trudeau is one of these youth leadership people. So, and we know what the World Economic Forum stands for. You know, they want to reinvent capitalism. They think capitalism has failed. And so a lot of people up here are very sensitive about any politician that has any affiliation with the World Economic Forum. Pierre Poilievre has disavowed it. He says they're publicly stated objectives. He disagrees with them. So I would take him on face value on that. I think Pierre Poilievre is very strong on finance. He's a fiscal conservative. He wants to rein in inflation by getting the government or the Bank of Canada to stop printing money, and he wants to cut, which is what we have to do. He wants to make Canada the freest country on earth. I like the sound of that. What does that mean exactly? I don't know. He's not a social conservative. I am. And he believes in global warming, and he believes that we can get to net zero. I think net zero is a giant suicide pill. We should be an energy power. We should be exporting oil and gas and building pipelines across this country. He wants to build pipelines, but anyway, Pierre Poilievre, he would based on what I've heard so far, I would certainly take him over the current occupant. Well, I won't say 24 Sussex Drive because that house is in shambles and ruins. He doesn't live there anymore. Anyway, he would be a vast improvement over Trudeau. All right, we'll take a timeout, take some more questions from the live chat right here. Don't go away. Stay with us.
When in doubt, blame the government. You're listening to The Conspiracy.
The truth goes through 3 stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. Third, it is accepted as self-evident. You're listening to Richard Syrett's Strange Planet.
It's right here. The Conspiracy Show with Richard Syrett from Zoomer Radio.
Oops, there we go. Welcome back. Sorry, I had my mic on mute. Let's go back to the live chat. Purple Garden Hello. I love these handles. Purple Garden Hello. Hello, Purple Garden Hello. Who is in Ottawa this evening. Purple Garden Hello would like to know what I think of the grand solar minimum and why is the government not warning the people that they need to start gardening for food shortages. All right. Well, I don't know a lot about this, but a grand solar minimum is when the sunspot activity is at its lowest. And this has something to do with, I guess, with when you have a decrease in sunspot activity, that tends to correspond with much cooler temperatures. So we went into, I think, well, the sun was at its weakest apparently in 2019, but that's the weakest it's been in like 100 years, and that's called a solar minimum. And so 2020 is supposed to mark the beginning of what they call the 25th cycle. So we are likely to be in a grand solar minimum for the next 30 years or so, I think till 2053. And the last time we had kind of a similar situation with sunspot activity in the grand solar minimum, it was called the Marunder minimum, something like that. That was back during the 17th century, 1600s, 1700s. And that was known as the Little Ice Age. The canals in Venice froze over. So it was an elongated cold period during the 16 and 1700s. I think it also happened during the medieval ages. So if we're going to have colder weather, this is again why, you know, I don't subscribe to man-made global warming. I don't think that carbon dioxide is like the thermostat on global temperature. It's there are forces far greater at work than cars spewing a little bit of CO2 and cows farting methane into the atmosphere. It has more to do with the sun cycles. So why, if in fact we are heading into a little ice age, why isn't the government telling us to prepare? Well, I guess number one, they don't want us to panic. Number two, I mean, I think we can survive. I think there could be some food shortages, some supply chain issues. But they do kind of, the government, they kind of, in little dribs and drabs, right? They're always telling you now, if you're paying attention, make sure you have, at least when I listen to US radio, I hear these ads all the time from the government, US government. Make sure you have 72 hours, worth of supplies. And that's always a good idea. Make sure you always have a little bit of cash on hand in the safe in case, who knows, there's a cyber attack. This has nothing to do with sunspots or the little ice age. But if the internet goes down, who knows what Vladimir Putin will be up to if things don't go his way. So cash on hand, certainly 72 hours worth of food supply. I've got about 4 months worth of food for a family of 5. And coincidentally, I have been thinking about these solar power generators. I mean, I don't believe that solar power and wind power are the answer long term. I mean, fossil fuel is here for a long time to come. And we need it desperately, especially in the colder climates. But more people freeze to death than die from so-called, heat exhaustion and global warming. It's the cold we need to worry about. Can you imagine, with no fossil fuels to burn, how many people around this planet would die freezing in the dark? Solar panels aren't going to get it done up here in Canada. Anyway, it's always a good idea to be prepared. And are we heading into a cooling period? Yes, we are. There's no doubt about that. We are not heating up. I believe global warming is a canard. All right, let's see. Who else do we have here in the live chat? Trust Divine Mercy. Well, that's a beautiful handle. Trust Divine Mercy. I certainly do. Richard, do you think the Antichrist will come out of the World Economic Forum? Have you seen this Klaus Schwab? Some of the outfits this guy wears, he looks like the latest James Bond villain. And he looks ridiculous, actually, most of the time. I don't know. I mean, it's certainly some of the things that he talks about and advocates for seems to line up with some prophecy. And everyone now is talking about a move to a digital currency and digital IDs, and a digital ID that would be somehow connected with a QR code and a vaccine passport. And is that the mark of the beast? And yada, yada, yada. I don't know. I don't know. But it lines up in some way, doesn't it? I'd like a great reset, but not Klaus Schwab's great reset. I'll tell you that much. I'd like to reset a lot of things, but not the way he has in mind. Let's see, who else do we have here? Keenan Key. My dad, Ray, and I would love to know of any UFO experiences you've had, if any. I hate to disappoint you, Keenan, and Ray, if you're listening. I've not. Not that I know of, anyway. And the reason I say that is because over the last 20 years, I have talked to more UFO researchers and alien abductee researchers and alien abductees that I can count. And one of the things that they'll talk about is missing time. And I did have kind of a bizarre experience. I don't know if you would call it missing time or some sort of time shift or time dilation. Or maybe I don't know how to explain this. But when I lived in another part of town and I worked at another radio station, and I would get off the air, I think I get off the air at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I would get down to my car and race home. And, it was a routine, and I knew exactly how long it would take me. Let's say I'm forgetting now, but let's say it was 25 minutes to get from the radio station to my home in North Toronto. And on this particular night, I was racing up. Let's see, it was Bayview Avenue again. Bayview Avenue, and I was supposed to turn right on York Mills. And usually, when I got to York Mills, that was around the 20-minute mark. And I'm looking at the clock on the dashboard, and it's maybe 15 minutes in, and I look up, and I'm not at York Mills. I'm at Finch Avenue. If you're not from Toronto, Finch Avenue is way beyond York Mills. I thought, wait a minute, I wasn't speeding. How did I get way north of York Mills and it's only 15 minutes in? This doesn't make any sense. That has confounded me. That's close to 20 years ago that happened. The one and only time that I can think of. What do you call that? Is that missing time? And if it's missing time, where was I during that missing time? And then I think about the alien abductees who talk about missing time. So maybe that was my one and only UFO experience. Maybe I need to go under. Maybe I need to do a hypnotic regression. No, I don't want to know. Don't want to know. Let's see. Do we have time for one more? I think we're just about out of time here, but I'm just trying to find one in the live chat. Core Gemini. The topic of demons and dark entities. Do you ever wonder if a psychological profile can be made on them to analyze a demon's psyche, to try and understand their actions, why they do what they do? That's a great question, Core Gemini. How are you going to get a demon to lie on that couch and answer your questions? Or do a Rorschach test? They wouldn't sit for it. They wouldn't stand for it. All right, that's just kind of a flippant answer, but I don't know, Core Gemini, but thank you for the question. All right. My thanks to Carlos Cagina and Ryan White. We'll be back next week. I think we've got a great one in store for you. What's going on next week? Let me look at the schedule. I think Patty Greer's going to be here. I think we're going to talk crop circles. That ought to be fun. All right. In the meantime, don't be afraid. There's nothing concealed that won't be revealed and nothing hidden that won't be made known. What you hear in the dark, speak in the light. What I say in a whisper, proclaim from the housetops. Move over, Aphrodite, I'm coming home. Good night.
A new Richard Syrett's Strange Planet drops every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Subscribe at strangeplanetpodcast.com.
Hey, 'tis the season to give the perfect gift. C60 Evo organic oil elixirs and facial serum sets. And here with another sleep tip is our good pal, Chris Burrows, co-founder and chief scientist at C60 Evo. Hey, Chris, welcome back.
Richard, thank you so much for having me. My next tip regarding getting better sleep is related to electronic devices. So we all have these, this cell phone lying around, or we're using it on a regular basis. What a lot of people don't realize is that those devices give off blue light. That blue light is actually tells our bodies, the only time naturally that we see blue light is at the peak of the sun. So when the sun is up at its peak at noon. And so what those devices do, including your computer terminals, your cell phones, your tablets, is they convince our physiology that it's the middle of the day. You can imagine that if you're watching your cell phone or tablet at 10 p.m. and you've somehow convinced your physiology that it's the middle of the day, this is not good for sleep. So it's really important. Most devices have actually blue light blockers, and you can just go out and Google and how to blue light block on my Samsung device or Apple device, or even on your PC or your Mac. Make sure you turn that on. I know people who leave it on all day so that they're never impacted by that blue light. I would recommend 2 hours before the sun is setting in your local area to turn that on. Obviously it doesn't work if you're working on videos or you're working on pictures, but try and turn that on 2 hours early. And the other thing regarding electronic devices, try to keep them out of the bedroom. I recommend that you actually put a charging station outside of your bedroom so that you just don't even bring it in your bedroom. These devices, as we've kind of been reading and hearing, are like geared to trigger our endorphin responses, and so we like to be on them. They keep them up. So keep it out of the bedroom and make sure you got your blue light blocker on about 2 hours before the sun sets. And I always like sharing sleep tips, because our most consistent testimonial for our product is that people take it in the morning, they report mental focus and energy during the day, and then better sleep that night.
C60 Evo products deliver noticeable benefits to people and pets around the world. Immunity boost, deeper sleep, just like Chris said, more energy, mental balance, flexibility, and longevity. Please visit the website c60evo.com/Richard-Syret. And don't forget, use the coupon code EVRS at checkout, EVRS at checkout, and then you save an extra 10%. That can't wait. All right, Chris, we'll talk again next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
A new Richard Syrett's Strange Planet drops every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Subscribe at strangeplanetpodcast.com.